$60,000 used car,
Uh-huh.
okay, on a 60-month finance, that's $1,100-ish a month, $1,200-ish. That's before you add in the negative equity. Okay, she's got $6,000 in negative equity. That's going to push that payment up over $1,200 a month, unless she stretches it out to 72, which now that's not great, right? We don't want people to stay in this cycle of buying used cars, only driving them for 3 years and then trading out of them. Buying a used car does not escape you from depreciation, right? That's not like a cheat code to escape. They're still going to depreciate. I would just ask her. It looks like you only had this car for about 3 years. You didn't really even drive it that much. So do you typically keep your cars for only 3 years? Because if you do, you might consider leasing to break this pattern of having negative equity that you keep rolling. And I think you'll be surprised to see that with the really strong lease programs on a GLS right now, that it actually is going to probably come out to be a very similar payment on a lease on a new one. Like, you go run it and then report back to me, and I guarantee you they're going to be very, very close. And then you can get a new car in a lease. You get back to square one. You prevent the negative equity, because again, here's what's going to happen: if she buys this GLS, she's going to stretch the term out, the used one, to have a manageable payment. And then if she wants another car again in 3 years, guess what? The $6,000 in negative equity she has now, double it. Rolling negative equity from used car to used car to used car to used car to used car. I've watched that movie many, many times. It always ends the same way. Eventually it gets to a point where some of these appraisals you do where people are 30, 40, 50 grand upside down, you know how that happens? This is how that happens. That's not one car. That's not a one car mistake. That's a multiple car mistake.
That's got to be a series of bad issues that led up to buying an EV.
With the EV, you never know, but right, you've appraised plenty of cars where you're like, oh my goodness, the negative equity here is like almost incomprehensible. That's a pattern of behavior that gets you there.
Yeah.
That is buying cars when you should be leasing them usually. Just ask her, hey, you had this car for 3 years, is that pretty typical for you? Do you typically keep them for about 3 years? Because I'm going to show you, and just run the numbers first and then ask her and just say, I just wanted to present this new car option to you with the really strong lease programs we have, but this is a 3-year term versus a 5 or 6 year term. And I bet you let me know, I bet you the math comes out to be very similar.
I think that it would make the most sense. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I know
I don't ever
want to just bluntly tell people that rolling
exactly. You can't.
How to have the conversation is what I wanted to. So this is good.
Yes, just present them both at the same time. Just say, I just wanted, based on how long you had the last one, I wanted to present this option to you as an alternative, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference to me which way you go. I want you to be happy. But what I also don't want is for you to want another car in 3 years, and now the $6,000 negative equity that you have today is double as the problem, because it will be. That's just the way it works, right? If you buy cars and you keep them for 6, 7, 8 years, then absolutely buy them, and buy a used one, and you'll save a lot of money over a new one. But if you're getting a new car every 3 years, like most Americans are, I'm just going to give you a little stat here, okay? Because I'm getting into arguments with the internet over this, okay? Let me rephrase this. There's about, let's call it 240-ish million Americans that have a driver's license. Okay? There's about 16 to 17 million new cars sold every year, and another 30 to 35 million used cars sold every year. Okay, so think about that. You add those up, and you end up somewhere between 50 and 60 million cars per year are getting sold between new and used. Okay? So over a 3-year period, that means you're somewhere between like 160 and 180 million cars are sold between roughly 240 million Americans that are eligible to drive, which means that most people are getting a car that is new to them, new or pre-owned, but it's right? I think we can agree there's a new car, of course, and then there's a used car that you buy. That is new to you.
New to them every 3 years.
New to them. most people are in that cycle, whether they want to admit it or not, whether they buy new, whether they buy used, whether they lease, whether they pay cash, whether they finance, they're probably going to fall into that 160 to 180 million number of cars that are sold within a 3-year span. If you're one of the, think about that, 180 million divided by 240 million, right? That's the majority, right? That's over half, right? That's 65, somewhere in there, 65%. So most people are going to get a car within that 3-year span. So if you're in that majority, let's really think through what the best option for you is going to be. If you're not one of those people, if you're one of the people that gets a car and you keep it for 10 years, then 100% buy it and finance it. But if you're in the bigger number,
It's
then
already
you
showing
should
that pattern based on.
then you should consider leasing.
Gotta find
Not
out.
because it's a benefit to us, because you're gonna, whether you buy the used one or the new one, you're gonna get a new one in 3. You're gonna get a new car to you within 3 years. That's what the statistics tell us. That's just math. I'm not making it up. That's just how many people buy a car every year.
I'm using that, but I'm 100% using everything.
Right? Just 16 to 17 million people buy a new car every year. 30 plus million people buy a used car. That's 50 plus million cars sold every year.
No, that was some good math.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That means every year, 20% of the eligible, 21% of eligible people with driver's licenses are buying a new car, which means every 3 years, over 60% of people are getting a new car to them. And that is the majority.
People are so focused on the title of ownership, they're not even realizing the pattern of buyers they actually are.
Exactly. This isn't about just leasing is a different way to finance the car. It's a different way to buy it, right? Don't look at it like renting.
Right.
Because if you finance a car, you're renting it. You don't own it.
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
everybody thinks. I mean, yeah, exactly.
If you pay cash, you own it.
Mm-hmm.
If you finance it or you lease it, you don't own
You
it.
don't own it.
It's
Exactly.
just that your buyout process is a little different at the end.
Exactly.
Right? That's it. That's the only difference between leasing and financing.